Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's WilmsFront Snapshot news show on this Tuesday, the 7th of July, 2026. We are live on the WilmsFront YouTube channel. Hello to everyone watching. It is 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, the hometown of Kylie Minogue, one of the most popular Australians, certainly has a higher approval rating than the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, who for some reason thought that because Labor in a couple of polls overtook One Nation on the primary vote, got its budget passed, the capital gains tax increases and the rollback of negative gearing with the support of the Greens. There's now a big midwinter break. He thought that he could go on the Bush Deep podcast by actress and comedian Nikki Osborne. Now, I'd never heard of this podcast until Anthony Albanese and his media team, I'm not sure how many media advisors he has a staff of about 60, decided to go on this podcast, which, so Nikki Osborne is playing a character called Bushy. And so she puts on this fake accent like this. So it's sort of similar to Kunk on Netflix, that British interviewer who's a character, and also Norman Gunston, to put it in an Australian context. So Anthony Albanese not only thought that, and his team thought it was a great idea to do this podcast, surely they had seen previous episodes, including when Nikki Osborne speaks to one of Australia's most famous OnlyFans stars. Australia is number one in per capita, has the highest concentration of OnlyFans creators. Of course, that's the terminology for self-produced porn star. So whether the world championship at something, it's I'm not sure that that's a prize that many Australians will want. So Albanese's vetting team, you would have thought, would do their due diligence. So it's 20 minutes at the lodge in Canberra, the Prime Minister's official residence, and you would have all seen the clip. Nikki Osborne, or Bushy, says it's the same question for every guest. So clearly they'd seen this before. Shag, marry, date. So it was a choice of Nicole Kidman, Kylie Minogue, or Rhonda Birchmore. Now, Albanese, we've seen him. He's the art of dodging the question. He initially said, I've only been married for 6 months, but then Bushy says, but if all goes tits up, he decided he would answer. And so he said, Kylie, all of the above. And it's, I think most Australians, unless you're a Labor rusted on, including his Minister for Women, Katie Gallagher, who is conspicuously silent, it was just a massive cultural cringe. What a national embarrassment. And again, it's Albanese trying to pretend that he's hip, cool, and down with the young ones, even though he's banning the under 16s from social media to protect them from social harm, even though that podcast, if you watch the full 20 minutes, that is a massive harm online. And because of the backlash, he has had to apologize unreservedly. Now, there was obviously, a lot of the female members of the coalition, such as Sarah Henderson said at demeans the office of Prime Minister. You had Zali Steggall, who said that the Prime Minister should call out and not participate in these sorts of sexist games. And Sal Grover made the point that given that Albanese is not restoring the women's rights in law, I should get exactly out what she said on X, because it's worth reading out in full. So she said that I think it's telling that as Albanese is dismissing women's sex-based rights as a culture where he's being culturally repulsive by using the degradation of women to seemingly win cool guy points. If he wants to prove us wrong, he can do actually listen to women and put the accurate definition of women back into law. Now, Tanya Plibersek, the social services minister, who used to be the Minister for Women, she went on Sunrise and said, it just proves that Albanese is a big fan of Kylie Minogue like I am, and our government has done wonders for women. I remember a couple of weeks back, Albanese was deploring the Ditch the Witch billboards of Jacinta Allen herself. So it was a light-hearted podcast. Now, I don't think that Albanese should deliver a national apology or should resign. That's going way too far. I think that the voters should judge him for it. And I think it's just a sign that Anthony Albanese, when he thinks he's on top of the world and arrogant, he goes on one of these podcasts. Remember, before the election, he went on Abby Chatfield's podcast, and of course Abby Chatfield, most infamous for suggesting to incels that they should assassinate Donald Trump. Now Bonds has hired her self-described cuck boyfriend Adam Hyde, Kelly Holiday, as their new men's underwear ambassador, talking about disturbing images online, seeing him in his undies. Ugh. But the whole 20 minutes, there was a whole bunch of other real cringy things, and including that he and Jodie do it after the Rabbitohs win. So they go for it like rabbits after the Rabbitohs. Now, again, I can be crass like this because I'm not the Prime Minister. But then he might have caused an international diplomatic incident when he was asked what's one of the worst gifts he's received. And he said the weirdest was by the Japanese Prime Minister when she visited recently, Sane Takaichi, a Japanese melon, and Bush is like, she smuggled it in, and he said, there were two of them, and basically and then he does what I'm doing, visualizes the boobs, and then Bushy says, like Pamela Anderson. It's amazing that Anthony Albanese has basically been done over in an interview by a fictional persona, and he couldn't did he forget for a moment that this was all being recorded and being published, that he basically joined in on that there? Now, Japan is one of our greatest and closest allies. Sane Takaichi is a former TV presenter. You hope that she just sees it as Albanese trying to be entertaining. Of course, Saini Takaichi, she's fond of a few popular culture things herself, such as performing on drums with the South Korean president. So maybe this will all blow over. But in all seriousness, in all seriousness, this is all just a distraction from the fact that Albanese is screwing the nation every day. And I think Shadow Treasurer Tim Wilson, so his post, which wasn't sanctimonious, but made the point, PM Albo MP has apologised for his verb regarding Kylie. Fair enough. Now apologise for doing the same thing to Australia's small business. Yes, they're still waiting for their apology. Kylie hasn't commented herself. She's probably trying to get Albo out of her head, though Rhonda Birchmore, in response to being rejected, said that he's clearly intimidated by tall redheads. But all this is, again, the more sanctimonious statements from liberals, from other liberals, such as I mentioned, Sarah Henderson and Anne Webster, the Nationals, who called for a televised apology. The Liberals are so easily getting distracted by things such as this. And last week it was the Defence Industry Minister, Pat Conroy, calling Sir Robert Menzies a Nazi appeaser. And, well, there were a lot of appeasers back in the 1930s, before World War II. Obviously, there was a lot of what to do about the Hitler question. Should we try to negotiate? When war started, should we negotiate a peace? So the Liberals were all, right, how dare you call our party founder and Australia's longest serving Prime Minister a Nazi appeaser. And so they got distracted by that. And also they spent the final week of question time asking if it was the government's intention with its housing, its policies in the budget, rolling back negative gearing and increasing capital gains tax, to crash the housing market, as they put it. Well, because auction clearings rates are below that 50%. And they're still worth more, houses in our major cities, they're still worth more this year than they were last year. So it's only a slight downturn. But if you look at the recent polling, the 50% of Australians are happy for home prices to fall. But we all hear about nest eggs and the people's investment in the family home. But we need to think of housing not as an investment, but as the Daryl Kerrigan, our man's home is his castle, that it's the family home that you don't have to check with the landlord if you want to make renovations, if you want to make adjustments or that. Well, actually, you still have to get council approval for renovations. So it's not quite you can do whatever you want with it, but you get my point. And for all those boomers who bought their homes for hundreds of thousands of dollars and now worth millions, they're still in positive equity than what they bought it as. So I don't know why the Liberals think that they were sort of onto a winner with that one. Now, Albanese is in the middle of a Pacific Islands security agreement signing blitz. So he was this was in Canberra last week. He signed the Nakamal agreement with Vanuatu's Prime Minister Jotham Napa. Albanese seemed annoyed at his driver when he and blocked the view of the camera in the prime ministerial courtyard. So you're ruining the photo op of you're blocking me and of your prime minister getting out of the car. And then on his trip to Fiji, signed the Ocean of Peace Alliance with its prime minister, Sitvini Rabuka. And he's currently in the Solomon Islands negotiating a new comprehensive strategic treaty under the new Solomon Islands Prime Minister Matthew Wale. Now, the previous Prime Minister Sogavare, he signed the Security Pact with China on the eve of the 2022 election. That's still in place, but the new Prime Minister is much more pro-Australia. And it was interesting, during Albanese's tour of the Pacific Islands, China decided to conduct what they called a routine military training exercise, testing a submarine ballistic missile, or an SLBM, with a dummy nuclear warhead into the South Pacific. It was quite funny how China claimed innocence and said, oh no, this is just routine, nothing, you don't need to be worried about this, even though they didn't give the required 48 hours notice for such a test. Instead, only 2 hours notice. So Anthony Albanese called it provocative and destabilizing. The Solomon Islands Prime Minister Matthew Wade said that it's not the actions of a friend. And now a lot of these security agreements, Australia has to give, well, it's not called foreign aid anymore. It's called, it's basically called development funding, or what the former New Zealand Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Winston Peters called checkbook diplomacy. And they always use climate change as basically to get more money, climate compensation, because they say, well, it's you're causing all of the greenhouse gas emission. We could go underwater and say, we'll sign whatever security agreement that you want to, basically, so it looks good, as long as you stump up some extra money for us.
This is WilmsFront, brought to you by the Unshackled.net.
Now, the Royal Commission into Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion is now here. It's gone from the Bondi terrorist attack, Islamic terrorist attack, which triggered the calls for this Royal Commission. So it basically absolved ASIO and the security and intelligence failures. So now we are in the part of the Royal Commission where online words lead to real life bullets. So words lead to bullets. So we heard from the deputy chairman of the Lowy Institute and former Westfield co-CEO Stephen Lowy. So he called for each state and territory to have specialized police units to protect the Jewish community. Laws to compel social media companies to remove anti-Semitic content, and a national service program to bring young Australians from different backgrounds into sustained contact. So that's what his guide for having social cohesion. So this was part of his submission to the Royal Commission. He said on average his family receives 40 threats a day, and now feels more unsafe in Australia than in Israel, where his father, Frank Lowy, the founder of Westfield, he has now retired. Frank Lowy actually fought in the Israeli War of Independence in 1948. Jewish federal Labor MPs, Josh Burns and Mark Dreyfus, have called for even tougher laws against vilification in their submissions. So Dreyfus said, I believe the extension of hate speech laws is needed to create a broader offence that does not require elements of violence or threatening force. And Josh Burns wants the e-safety commissioner to be given more powers to respond to online hate speech. And his partner, the Victorian Animal Justice MLC Georgie Purcell, in her submission attacks screenshots from social media comments attacking the couple and their 6-month-old daughter, which she described as the dark side of her own progressive movement. And she said that extremist pro-Palestine activists are increasingly mirroring the anti-Semitism of the far right. However, we had the Australian Jewish Association in its submission said governments should not introduce additional hate speech laws until an independent review has assessed whether recently enacted laws have reduced anti-Semitic incidents or attitudes, whether they had generated unintended consequences. Laws restricting speech are unpopular in the Jewish community and broader society. They don't reduce anti-Semitism. There is evidence that they increase anti-Jewish sentiment. At least someone finally gets it. And we also heard that because of all of these additional laws and the online content moderation, according to Hannah Rose, an extremism researcher for the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, said that extremists use different codes, for example, a letter and a word and a number, to avoid content moderation. They'll use emojis, they'll use memes, so a lot of inferred anti-Semitism. It is only necessary identifiable to an individual who knows the context of that meme already, is able to interpret it that way. So is she referring to something like when somebody posts every single time? Just as an example, we had this week the policy director of Meta, who said, who claimed that it's the reversal of its proactive content moderation and instead relying on complaints has not led to more anti-Semitic content on its platform. And we also had from another organization, the Online Hate Prevention Institute's Dr. Andre Obler. He's accused Elon Musk of personally fueling anti-Semitism during an appearance at the Royal Commission on so he cited the Nazi salute that Mr. Musk did at the inauguration event. So read it as you will, but there's certainly a problem there that is being amplified and is coming from someone with a huge degree of influence over the platform. Well, he owns that, and he was saying, my heart goes out to you. Obler said his institute found X generally difficult to work with since Elon Musk brought it in 2022, when there was a philosophical change where it went from a platform that was at least trying to improve safety to a platform that said, no, we believe in absolute free speech. Oh, that must be so horrible. Now, despite the e-safety commissioner, Julian Mangrant, already having the power to remove content that she believes bullies or harasses somebody, and she's just gotten more power from Anthony Albanese and Annika Wells. Well, it's got to pass Parliament First, not only is the fines for systematic breaches of the social media ban for under 16s doubling from 49.5 million to 99 million, but she'll be given the powers to compel social media companies, age assurance platforms, and app stores to provide evidence of what they have done to stop under 16s from getting an account. And then she'll even have even more power if Anthony Albanese legislates a digital duty of care, which would also compel the social media companies to identify and mitigate harms across their services. It's funny, Albanese's social media ban, it's according to the British Medical Journal, 68% of children aged 14 to 15 are still using their own social media accounts. So Julia Mangrant, she told the Royal Commission she now wants the power to stop online pylons, or basically being ratioed in the comments.
One of the other things I asked for, which I think has been noted by the government, is something called a notification power. And that's important because the adult cyber abuse as it's constructed now is so specific. As you know, it doesn't cover groups of people or a person because they are part of a group. But it also only requires you to look at that specific tweet. Many of these tweets or posts have terrible, insulting, ugly comments underneath. It may be cross-platform. And so what I've asked for is something called a notification power. So if there's a pylon, if there's a brigade, if it's meant to be an avalanche of online hate, we put the onus back on the platform to say, this Australian is being targeted. We expect you to protect their account and take action against all of those people that you can see. You can see all the signals. You can see it on your dashboard, whether it's you just suspend them or you take them away. That would be very helpful and more representative of how online abuse manifests against that we've seen against members of the Jewish community here.
No matter how many prosecutions or laws that are passed, it's never enough. So we had last week Thomas Sowell convicted of offensive behaviour over that October 2024 protest outside the Chinese consulate in Melbourne, holding up the sign that said "Yellow Grubs, hand over the baby mutilator," because that Chinaman in Brisbane threw hot coffee over that baby because he was angry about his visa not being extended, and then he was able to flee to China. So he made a speech, and there was about 30 members of the now dissolved National Socialist Network there who burnt CCP flags and images of Xi Jinping. Now, he was convicted of offensive behaviour over the part of his speech where he said that bring him to me and I'd string him up. So the magistrate who convicted him, Magistrate Patrick Southey, so he got sentenced to 200 hours of community service. So he decided to be smarty pants and said, I know you've lived in this country a long time, but some might say you had to learn what it is to be Australian. We're an easygoing, tolerant, diverse society made up of all sorts of backgrounds, welcoming to immigrants. And he said of Sewell's remarks that it was what did he say here? He had some comment. He found the chants, the burning of the flags, flags, he called it powerful and chilling. So yes, all of this, even though it passed new laws which are under constitutional challenge to ban the National Socialist Network in white Australia, it's still never enough. I heard Julie and Lisa, the Jewish liberal frontbencher, who say that I'm for free speech, but anti-Semitism is never free speech. But the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism has a lot of contentious parts into it in its definition of anti-Semitism, which is that you can't claim that Jews have dual loyalty, even though a lot of them are citizens of both Israel and a Western country.
This is WilmsFront, brought to you by the Unshackled.net.
Now, there's been more reporting in The Age and Sydney Morning Herald on its Building Bad series by Nick McKenzie about the corruption on Victoria's big build, which is estimated by Jeffrey Watson SC to have cost taxpayers $15 billion. But there is now new revelations that Jacinta Allen's office reportedly pressured big build contractors working on a level crossing removal project back in 2022 to accept a CFMEU deal. She obviously, before she was Premier, was Transport Infrastructure Minister, and the quote is, can you work with the union? And one of her own department officials, his own estimation is that it's a 30% union cost, additional cost on the big build. Now, Mick Gatto, he's currently holidaying in Bali and is promising a tell-all interview on Karl Stefanovic's podcast, who he just got sacked from his Australian radio network show that he was co-hosting with Eddie Maguire, The Long Weekend. Now, Australian Radio Network, they just had a massive legal contract termination, a legal settlement with Carl Sandlands. I think it's still ongoing with Jackie O, so they certainly weren't in the mood for any more controversy. And now Karl Stefanovic, his first podcast post his sacking was with Piers Morgan, who of course is no fan of Tommy Robinson, but he says, I've invited Tommy Robinson on, but he won't appear on my program. And you and me are similar because we both got sacked from Breakfast TV. Though I hardly think that Piers Morgan, again, is all about Piers Morgan. Now, again, last week, the big build, corruption should have been on the front page all of the time, but it wasn't because of Moira Deemings, the continuing insistence on her not to apologise to Matthew Guy for claiming that he put her in some form of headlock at a Macedonian community event on May 23. We've all seen the footage. She couldn't hear him, so they were seated in between her staffer, and so he leans over to support himself, to put his hand on her upper back to whisper in her ear, and it seems like he's whispering something funny because he whispers in the ear of staffer and laughs as well. Now, as I said last week, she didn't complain about this to Jess Wilson until 3 weeks later on June the 12th. Then she went to police on June 16th. Victoria Police investigated and said that no offence had been detected. Now, Moira Deeming said that she misunderstood the technical meaning of a headlock, but maintained she acted in good faith. Now, there'll be no defection or joining of One Nation, because Pauline Hanson said she doesn't want Moira Deeming because she hasn't displayed the integrity and honesty and being part of a team by refusing to apologise to her colleague. And then on the eve of a scheduled Liberal Party of Victoria State Executive meeting, which was going to take place last Friday evening, she filed a emergency application for an injunction to stop the meeting in the Supreme Court of Victoria. Her counsel and lawyer said that she had been denied natural justice and that she'd been experiencing mental health issues. Now, she was suing the Liberal Party and its state president, Brian Loughnane, who is the husband of Sky News host Peter Credlin, who it is reported wants nothing more to do with her. So she's lost most of the support that she received when she was defamed by then leader John Pesciuto after the Let Women Speak in 2023, when Thomas Sewell and the NSN gate crashed it. Moira Deeming actually released a message this afternoon on her socials, and she's reopened comments on X and Facebook. And it's also been released her Supreme Court reasons for wanting to not have what she wants 4 state executive members excluded from making decisions about her political future, and also wants internal discipline process first before disendorsement, though courts have previously ruled that political parties are free to decide their own candidates. And so she made a apology not to Matthew Guy but her supporters of more than 3.5 years of huge distractions, so trying to lump in the two issues together. But obviously her supporters is now a narrow rump of TERFs and other white knights, such as Lyle Shelton of Family First, who clearly wants her to run for Family First. But she claims the issue is now being mediated, though a senior Liberal said no mediation was underway, nor would it occur. Moira Deeming is trying to be Jacinta Allen's best friend. She was doing more to help Labor than any other member of Jacinta's own team. I think she tried to counter in her video. I'm not going to play it. The online allegations that she's a Labor plant, saying that she's committed to kicking out this corrupt Labor government. So for some reason, she still wants to be a Liberal MP, even though she's accused them of pack bullying and called Matthew Guy a chief tormentor. So, and this was out of the news for a couple of days, and now it's back in because of Moira Deeming's own video. And yeah, this I mean, there's like, as I said, there's still a rump of supporters. Maybe she's trying to generate these comments. She's even replying to some of the comments who are saying, well, if you wanted this handled privately, why did you go to police? So this will continue to dominate until it goes to trial in the Supreme Court, one-day trial, not this Friday, the following Friday, because the Liberal Party decided, let's just go this to trial and have a resolution. But it would be extraordinary if a political party decided if a court decided that a political party forced them to keep a candidate on the ballot. So it's interesting, the justice in this case, Kerry Judd, so she was the director of public prosecutions when she decided to prosecute George Pell, whose conviction was quashed by the Supreme Court. Now, Deeming talks about apologising for again, as I said, she lumps in distractions over the 3.5 years, but her recent distraction by going to the police, claiming that Matthew Guy assaulted her, she claimed that the party recommended it to her, so she's blaming the party for making the police complaint. She completely took away all the media attention from what the issue she's most famous for championing, that is restoring women's rights. There was hardly any coverage on Saturday of the Let Women Speak rally, Stand with Sal Grover, amend the Sex Discrimination Act. So all the media oxygen was sucked up by Moira Deeming's allegation refusing to apologise rather than the Let Women Speak issue. And there was a major development over the weekend from the woman, Australia's first female Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, who changed the Sex Discrimination Act in 2013, her government did, to remove the definition of man and woman and replace it with gender identity. Now, she spends most of her time over in the UK, or Turf Island, which as even members of Keir Starmer's lame duck government, including his new health secretary, have now walked back that women can have penises. So Julia Gillard, because maybe she's sick of being heckled and questioned, in response to an audience question her about if she had any reflections on her decision to amend the Sex Discrimination Act in the aftermath of Tickle versus Giggle. This was her response.
One of the other things I asked for,
when you change the sex discrimination law to reflect gender identity and not sex, meaning that women in Australia are no longer defined in law by biological sex, did you consider or reflect on some of the unintended consequences of that?
Look, I'm not sure that this is going to be too interesting to the audience because it's a very Australian matter, but let me just respond in the following way. If you look at the parliamentary debates in the changes to the Sex Discrimination Act in 2012, you'll find that the issues you're referring to were not raised by anyone because they simply weren't a matter of public discourse the way they are today. So it was a different time.
Yes, it was a different time, as cartoonist Johannes Leek in The Australian drew. So says, look, it was a different time. Women didn't have penises back then, and draws Julia Gillard with a big nose because, of course, lying makes your nose grow longer. So a sort of not a mea culpa, but Catherine Deves was right to point out that Julia Gillard was lying, because there were submissions to the Senate inquiry back then which warned of the consequences of amending the Sex Discrimination Act, that anyone could identify as a woman. There is a reason that she earned the nickname during her prime ministership, Jewel Liar.
This is WilmsFront, brought to you by the Unshackled.net.
Now, the United States of America celebrated on the 4th of July. It's so the official term is semiquincentennial, 250 years since the Declaration of Independence. We will have our semiquincentennial in 2038 on Australia Day. And obviously, there's been a resurgence in support for Australia Day that not even Albo and the Labor premiers are dissing it and wanting to change it now, including Melbourne City Council might bring back its Australia Day celebrations, which would be fantastic, including the Australia Day parade. But the trade unions, they still want a debate on the change of the date and another go at the voice referendum. Of course, it's similar in the United States with the far left who claim about stolen land, blah, 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 even though there's been, like here, there's been heaps of land giveaways to the Native American tribes. They get mineral royalties, and you just need to watch what corruption and criminal activity that led to in the Martin Scorsese film Killers of the Flower Moon. And now, of course, the fireworks and the fair at the National Mall was criticised as Trump making it about himself, because Trump derangement syndrome, it does a lot to to many people. Though in the lead-in to Trump's to the 250th years of the United States, Trump had a one win and one loss in the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court ruled that states can ban biological males from competing in women's sports and vice versa. That doesn't mean that nationwide that biological men are banned from women's sports. That can still happen in California. It was about challenging state bans on biological males competing in women's sports. And then the one that didn't go in Trump's favor was that Donald Trump's executive order 14160 limiting birthright citizenship, including the children born in America of illegal aliens and those on temporary visas. So that was a 6-3 decision, though Kavanaugh said that Congress could act, but the 5 justices, the 3 liberals, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson Brown, joined with Chief Justice Roberts and, of course, Amy Coney Barrett. So the 14th Amendment, that says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state where they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, property without due process, nor deny to any persons within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Not that Trump is against all Americans who gained citizenship through birthright citizenship, such as the Team USA striker, Florian Belugan, who is only an American citizen, plays on the Team USA side at the FIFA World Cup. He is Nigerian. He has an English accent, but and he was in the Arsenal academies, and his youth international career was with the English side, but in 2023 switched his allegiance to the United States because he had a connection to the country because he was born there. Now, he's not an anchor baby. It's purely he's an American on that team because of an airline policy on pregnancy. So his Nigerian parents, they're living in London, but were visiting the United States. And the airline refused to let a board a return flight. So he was born in Brooklyn. And so he spent 2 months in the United States and then was raised in London and England. But he is cheered by the United States soccer fans, and Donald Trump personally called the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, because he got a contentious red card in the previous round of 32 game against Bosnia Herzegovina. And it was a coming together, and he accidentally stepped on the back of his ankle, so that was classified as reckless violent conduct and a red card. Now, because of FIFA's own World Cup rules, it's so in most domestic leagues, a red card can be rescinded on appeal, but there's no mechanism in the FIFA World Cup to rescind a red card. But what can be done, according to FIFA Article 27, is the judicial body may decide to fully or partially suspend the implementation of a disciplinary measure. So this is what they did. They suspended his one-match suspension. Now, UEFA, and this is where the Trump derangement syndrome, the Euro politics comes in. UEFA, the European governing body, they put out a statement. They said the suspension of the one match automatic suspension for the red card crossed a red line. Now, this is being called a FIFA corruption scandal. I think that's going way too far. There's literally a FIFA rule, and they did this for Cristiano Ronaldo. He got a 3-match suspension for a red card before the World Cup in an international game. And that was, he had 2 of those 3 games suspended, so he could play in all 3 group games at the FIFA World Cup. And so, because it's his final World Cup, because he's 41, so it's okay to favour a Portuguese striker who has got all of these accolades. It's okay to use this trigger Article 27 for Cristiano Ronaldo, but It's appalling FIFA corruption when it's done for a Team USA striker. Now, all Trump said he did is he called Infantino and explained what he thought of the red card and is there a mechanism there. FIFA's independent disciplinary body decided to suspend the one-match suspension. But now I watched the game because it was on at 10 a.m. Belgium versus the USA. Now the Belgium decided to appeal FIFA's decision, but as a rule they have no standing. There were some people who said they should have boycotted the game. Yeah, but then they wouldn't have had the opportunity to win the game 4-1 and advance to the quarterfinals. So that was a ridiculous suggestion. And of course, Team USA, what's the point in having their star striker unsuspended if his teammates aren't passing the ball to him? It was a terrible display by Team USA. And I've already mentioned Florian Balogun. How he's not really a African American. The one who got the USA's only goal, Malak Tillman. So he is only American because while his African American father was stationed in Germany, he knocked up a German woman, had 2 children, and left when they were about 4 or 5. So he was raised in Germany, speaks with a German accent, and so this is what happens with a lot of these, particularly those of mixed race. If they're not going to get an international cap within the European country where they were born and raised, they explore other countries that they are eligible to represent. And one of SBS's in-studio commentators is an example of that, Kevin Prince Boateng, who was born and raised in Germany, had a Ghanaian father and a German mother. So his half-brother, so his father knocked up another German woman. What is it with all these Africans reproducing with German women? And a lot of with these mixed race players, not just with the German ones, but the Norwegian ones, because all the Norwegian players, they'll be against England in the quarterfinals. All of them have Viking blood, including the 2 brown ones, but they get that from their mother's side because their father is black. So this is almost always the case here, but I'm digressing here. So yeah, Kevin Prince Boateng. So he was born in Germany, but played for Ghana, while his half-brother Jerome Boateng played for Germany. And he said he feels more Ghanaian, but does he feel Australian now since he married an Australian? So is here because, well, he may depart again if that marriage goes tits up. But with these players, the soccer players, it's more about who they can have get international game time with rather than national loyalty. It's the same with our players as well. So Australia is out of the World Cup, so the diversity wasn't our strength. We needed more Africans. Belgium has got plenty of Africans in their team. I thought that Ozpil's video on the World Cup was spot on. The FIFA World Cup is about my Africans are better than yours. Obviously, in my opinion, France has the best squad of Africans. And the response online when I mentioned that this is a literal arms race of which a Western European country can have the best soccer squad full of Africans. Why isn't an African team won the World Cup, though Morocco and Egypt are still in the World Cup, though they're North African, not Black African, more Arab countries. Why haven't African countries won the World Cup? Well, their national teams haven't mastered the Western sport science and junior development. So obviously Western countries have been good at cultivating Africans' natural athletic ability, but actual African nations haven't been good at that. That's why they haven't won a World Cup. But I think that the favourite for the FIFA World Cup is France. It'd be their second World Cup in 3 World Cups. They came runners up to Argentina. Of course, Argentina could still win again. That's full of white Latin Americans. But yes, the USA, will they just be like our politicians and media? That's it for soccer for another 4 years. They'll be back reporting about the flares at the local A-League and that here. But yes, Trump said he'd accept the result of Belgium-USA if it was fair. If it wasn't fair, then he'd say it was rigged by like the 2020 election. But I think I was the only one who was cheering for Team USA this morning because I wanted the drama to keep going, because I think there was no violation of the rules. It wasn't unprecedented. But Europeans, because they don't like Trump, they don't like that Gianni Infantino gave him the FIFA Peace Prize. There's Euro politics here, so they'll try to get rid of Gianni Infantini. The irony of Sepp Blatter trying to claim that this is corruption when he was, he was corrupt with the in the awarding of the FIFA World Cups to Qatar and Russia. But when it comes to a Western country, alleged corruption, that's apparently much more scandalous.
This is WilmsFront, brought to you by the Unshackled.net.
Two-tier Britain, there has been more evidence of it, but before I start, I should mention that Keir Starmer, he has corrupted the FIFA World Cup. He personally stepped in to stop FIFA bringing forward England's kickoff of against Mexico, which they beat 3-2, claiming they were trying to gain an advantage. The Prime Minister told the Football Association they were not to accept moving the match. Now, pubs have been allowed to stay open for English fans to watch their own squad, full of Africans and mixed Indigenous Brits and with African blood as well. So they've stayed open, but remember the pub, the Dundee Arms, that kicked Katie Hopkins out from viewing one of the games because the publican had a Palestinian wife. It has been vandalized. And so she said that this is very naughty behavior. When I found out who did this, I'll give them a jolly good spanking. That nice pub landlord has a Palestinian wife and everything. I'm not even Jewish. I just have a big nose. Yes, you can see the windows boarded up. That is pure vandalism, and I could never, ever support such law breaking. Now, going on to other criminal incidents. So West Midlands Police, of course, there's a competition, which is the worst police force in Britain. Is it the Met Police in London? Is it West Yorkshire? Who is that? But West Midlands is pretty shocking, and the evidence is they have arrested Cody Harper with assaulting a female police officer who charged at him when some men of coloured appearance, 3 men of coloured appearance, and their 2 girls of coloured appearance, appeared to be assaulting him. The female copper didn't even identify herself as police and went straight for him. I'll play the footage for you if you haven't seen it.
Do not fucking punch his wife. Put your hands behind your back. No, you watch the fucking car, you dick.
What the fuck, bro? Please. I'm trying to go home.
That's it. Get in the fucking car. I'm telling you now. Get in the car.
You in the fucking car.
You legs get out. Get out.
Yo. Yes, I will give you everything. I will give you everything. I will give you everything. I promise you. I'm a little bit of luck. I will give you everything.
Why are all British female police officers, why do they have this high-pitched voice? And like they're the most shrill. Remember lesbian Nana, get back, get back. Like at least our female police officers in Australia, they're quite butch, and a lot of them have that husky voice that they exude authority and strength. But in Britain, they just have this shrill voice, and you can see that it's not the arresting officer, but another officer puts him in the police vehicle handcuffed backwards. So luckily they didn't seriously injure him. Now you saw another female police officer chase after the men of colour. Now you saw at the end West Midlands Police saying, we've reviewed the police body cam footage and we defend the officer and please stop sharing the footage. But they have put out a subsequent statement now. The West Midlands Police, which I will just read out. We are carrying out an investigation to identify people involved in an assault in Birmingham city centre. Around 1:30 a.m. on Sunday, 21st of June, officers were on Broad Street when they arrested a 20-year-old man who had since been charged with arresting a police officer. We are aware of footage on social media showing the incident before the man was arrested. Recognising the assault had taken place, we're now carrying out active inquiries to identifying those involved. Although officers were in the area when the assault took place, they were involved in the arrest of another man at the time. Anyone who witnessed the assault is asked to get in touch with us. So it's only because there has now been massive scrutiny on two-tier policing, particularly that the white person must have been the instigator, the perpetrator. And now, obviously, Cody Harper shouldn't have punched her, given her an excuse to arrest him, but she should have ID'd herself as police. He was clearly intoxicated. Maybe you should just claim that he's got learning difficulties. That seems to get you off, including white men off, like Crocodile Man, who threw the 3-year-old boy in the crocodile enclosure. Now, of course, two-tier policing, that the white man is assumed to be the bad guy. The most terrific example recently was Henry Novak handcuffed by the police as he died bleeding to death. So there are two police officers who handcuffed him, and when he said he'd been stabbed, "I don't think you have been, mate," they are now being investigated for gross misconduct. In some better judicial news, the two teenage rapists who gang raped two girls and filmed it, but were given non-custodial sentence by Judge Nicholas Rowland because he didn't want to make criminals of them, even though they committed a heinous criminal act. Keir Starmer said that he would direct the Crown Prosecution Service to appeal. They did. They got 4 years jail there. Now, has anyone seen Citizen Vigilante? Judge Nicholas Rowland might be scared because in Citizen Vigilante, there's a judge that lets a bunch of Muslim rapists off. And not only does Citizen Vigilante kill them, but kills the parents and then kills the judge. So no wonder governments all over the world are really scared of this movie and banning it. Now, Will, we also had we've also had police interviewing people or intimidating them for not committing crimes. The most recent example is this photographer who's Alistair Hilton, who he was enjoying a drink with friends at a pub and had made videos on social media criticising a Green councillor over a Riverside drinking ban, which has now been overturned. Now, the Green Party councillor Rick Rowe claimed that he had denied the requesting of the removal of the outdoor seating, said it's a Labor-controlled council. But the police said, you're aware that if you go to his house and film, you're committing an offence. And he said, I didn't, because I made the videos outside the pubs which have had to have their Riverside seating removed. So they were basically trying to intimidate him with pre-crime. Oh, don't, you better not do this. And he pushed back and said, why are you talking to me? I haven't committed an offence. And thankfully I'm not sure if this is going to be re-recorded as a non-crime hate incident. There has been a directive for authorities to investigate those so-called threats against public officials. Apparently, just mentioning them can trigger a police investigation. But the Home Secretary, Shimana Mahmood, is going to introduce reforms to the recording of non-hate crime incidents, and said the reforms forces will mean that police will no longer be policing perfectly legal Tits, and said they will be doing proper police work. Of course, local councils, at least one of them in London, is cracking down on unauthorised air conditioning installations in residential properties because of climate policies, even though most homes there don't have air conditioning because they're just used to it being bloody cold all of the time. France as well, it's there's a war on. People are installing air conditioning as well. So yeah, local it'd be great, be good if all of these local councils, which are just busybodies, would just be abolished. Now, will two-tier justice, will the police start investigating actual crimes? Will that happen under the new, soon-to-be new British Prime Minister Andy Burnham? No, he wants a crackdown on VPNs when he introduces Britain's own under-16 social media ban, which means already Brits are being asked to verify their age on X by taking a selfie or upload ID. Now, Andy Burnham, the new MP for Makerfield, the king in the north, as he's been called now, wants a number 10 in the north. And this is apparently what number 10 is going to look like in Manchester. Looks like number 10 in the north looks like number 10 in North Korea. That's probably how he will govern. And now Nigel Farage wants a general election now. And now he had a very literally in-your-face confrontation with Sky News UK. I think it was their political reporter, Beth Rigby, trying to question him about, because there's been this scrutiny on him over this £5 million gift from a Thailand-based British crypto billionaire, Christopher Harborn. So this was gift. It was shortly before he decided to stand for Clacton in the 2024 general election. So Farage described as an unconditional gift for his lifelong personal security, said he was private and he had no obligation to declare it before he became an MP. And then there is the other one, which is the benefits from George Cottrell. I don't know if he's in any relation to Blair Cottrell, a long-lost relative. So he's a crypto entrepreneur who actually served time in US prison for wire money fraud laundering in 2017, provided undisclosed support before the 2024 election. This includes security on drivers, social media staff working on Farage's content, access to a luxury rented townhouse near Buckingham Palace. This has led to the media looking at his property portfolio. The reason why Farage was so furious at Sky News, because they, along with the Times, had visited a property where his non-political daughter is living. So he said that this was harassment of his family. I tend to agree with him in this situation. Now, I doubt that he is going to go to jail over this. This is not a criminal matter. But there could be some parliamentary standards investigation, which the worst they can do is force a by-election. But even though Reform has taken a bit of a haircut in the polls, they are still ahead. It's interesting, Kemi Badenoch doesn't want a general election now. I think she wants to wait for the Burnham mania to wear off, because it'll just be the same dud product. But yeah, the UK is it's not like in Australia where the Prime Minister gets rolled and then resigns. Then we have a new Prime Minister. It's 3 months. Burnham isn't going to become Prime Minister for another 3 months. The lame duck period. It's even longer than in the United States, in between the presidential election and the January 20 signing in.
This is WilmsFront, brought to you by the Unshackled.net.
And that brings us to the end for another WilmsFront Snapshot news program. Now, I won't be on the same time next week because I have a special event on next Tuesday evening. So I will either be on Monday or Wednesday evening. I will let you know through my socials, of course, Telegram, Gab, X, or Facebook. Now, remember, I cannot do this without all of your support. So please consider supporting a WilmsFront and the Unshackled over on Substack. That's where I also send out email alerts for upcoming shows as well. The unshackled.substack.com/subscribe. Or you can take out a premium membership over the unshackled.net/membership. And remember, I'm also a contributor to Reality Check Radio. So you can sign up to their Australian Weekday Bites newsletter at rcr.media/Bites News. My latest Wilms report with Paul Brennan is now up. It was uploaded today, so I will also put that in the chat as well. Has Albanese lost control of the narrative? Well, he certainly lost control of his own his own lips, I will certainly say. So thank you so much again for your company. I'll be recording some new reports from Tiger Mountain with Richard Wollstonecroft very soon. And I will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to WilmsFront. Visit timwilms.com to view the archive of episodes. And keep visiting the unshackled.net to view all our shows. And to keep up with the latest real news and analysis.